Every Wednesday we have a mastermind for Millionaire Barbers Group. And tonight we have Michel Valbrun. Now, some of y'all don't know him, but you need him. Everybody on this live tonight needs him. He is a tax expert specialist, a CPA. He has a lot of degrees. He graduated from the Gators, Florida, okay, the swamp where Tim Tebow was. Now, another thing, it's probably 1% or less of people in the world that hold a title that he has. There are a lot of people out here on Instagram that are scammers. We know it's a lot of scammers. He's not one of them. He's educated. Ladies, he's married, okay? He's handsome. Nothing better than an educated, articulate. He has book sense and he has street sense. He hadn't always been where he is today. He had to go through some trials and tribulations. You can't judge a man in the time of convenience. You judge a man in times of conflict and controversy. But he is a tax genius and he's going to share a lot of stuff. I know a lot of y'all are going to these tax people on Instagram. These, I'm not going to call them clowns. I don't have a horse in the race, but I can guarantee you this. I am not going to have a doctor to deliver a child or work on me if they don't have the degrees and the education. I'm not going to have nobody doing my taxes if they don't have the education. He's a specialist, not somebody where you go to Walmart and all these tax people that just do this part-time. He lives, eats, and drinks this. So without further ado, Michel Valbrun.
Hey, let's go, let's go, let's go. Appreciate the intro. Let me go ahead and get my screen shared. How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing this evening? It's a pleasure. Appreciate the amazing intro, Chen. Yes, I'm super excited to be here. Tax wealth secrets, how to build wealth using tax saving strategies without worrying about the IRS. For my beauty professionals in the building, my stylists, my nailticians, we are going to get into and talk about the importance of taxes. As you can see on the bottom right corner, you can see that's my handle at Michel Valbrun, MICHEL VALBRUN. You can check me out on Instagram and all social media platforms. But let's get into it. Yeah, this night is going to be jam-packed with gems. I talk fast because I got a lot of information to share. So make sure you get your pens, your pads, however you take notes, and make sure you guys definitely tap in and tune in. But quick disclaimer, this training is for informational purposes only. Does not constitute legal or professional advice. You are encouraged to consult with a licensed tax professional, enroll agent, or CPA if you have specific questions related to any of the topics covered in this presentation. All right. So why is this presentation, why is this training different from anything that you've probably experienced in the past? Well, check this out. If you've ever experienced and ever struggled paying taxes in the past, I want to share with you that it's not your fault because you were never given the right information or you're probably working with the wrong person. We're going to talk all about that tonight. So I'm going to show you why you're probably working with the wrong person and who you need to really tap in with. Two, I'm going to talk about in this training, I want to put your fears to rest because what you're going to learn today and tonight is going to be different from anything you probably heard as it relates to taxes. I'm going to share with you the reason why you believe you can't save money on taxes is actually a big lie. So I'm going to demystify some things for you tonight. I'm also going to let you know that if you've ever thought there has to be an easier way to do it, then you're absolutely right. After this training, you will know exactly what you need to be able to save more money on taxes today. All right. So just real quick, make sure you guys silence your phones. Make sure you turn off all distractions, Facebook, Instagram, because literally the next 60 minutes, however long this takes me to go through it, it could be life-changing for you. It's going to be able to save you a ton of money on taxes. We're at the end of the year, and you're going to learn, if you don't already know, that the best time to save money on taxes is before the year's over, before tax season. So make sure you tune in, you tap in, you pay attention, because we are about to go. So real quick, some of y'all, this is Keke Palmer. Some of y'all been giving me the Keke Palmer look, Keke Palmer question. Sorry, I do not know who this man is. I know Chen gave me a quick introduction. But I'm gonna let you guys know who I am real quick before we get into it. So real quick, as Chen mentioned, my name is Michel Valbrun, AKA Money Making Mitch. I'm a tax strategist, award-winning author, and basically what I help people do is save 5 to 7 figures in taxes legally and ethically, stop money leaks in their business. As you can see here, I had the opportunity to meet some pretty dope people. I've been on Sister Circle, which was a phenomenal show here in Atlanta. I was able to talk about my book, talk about ways that you can maximize your tax refund. I'm in an organization with Spectacular Smith, my boy Ash Cash, always represent. I was on Inside the Vault recently, Social Proof podcast, a whole bunch of other podcasts. Dame Dash as well. I've been able to meet him in person, and I've been featured on several publications. AI C.P.A, the largest accounting journal in the world. I've been featured in that. The Street, Entrepreneur Magazine. I'm actually a writer and contributor. I actually write articles for Entrepreneur Magazine. I got like 5 articles on entrepreneurmagazine.com that I wrote from scratch. Yahoo Finance, Market Watch. So, a ton of things, but really, over the past year, I've been able to help my clients save a lot of money. And also recently, earlier this year, I was featured on Good Day LA. Out of all the CPAs in the country, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and Good Day LA reached out to me. They wanted the best, right? So they hit me up, and I was able to give some gems on what you need to do for this upcoming tax season. And I also wrote and created this rap called 10 Tax Commandments. If you guys are hip hop fans, if you guys are Biggie fans, you would appreciate this song. It's actually a world star. And it's based on Biggie's 10 crack commandments. I flipped the word crack, turned it into tax, and broke down some tax gems on that song. So you can check that out, 10taxcommandments.com. And we get into it. So the CPA success system is actually a process that I take my clients through in order to be able to achieve whatever they want to achieve, right? So the first part of the CPA success system is clarity. So really having the understanding of currently where you're at. Really, it's about self-awareness. Once you have that self-awareness, understand where you're trying to go, then you need to get power, right? So we're going to talk a lot about power, information, tools that you need in order to be able to actually learn how to save money on taxes. And then accountability. How do you work with the right individual to go ahead and be able to keep you accountable, actually help you implement some of these strategies I'm going to be talking about tonight. And you can see ultimately all that comes together is when you combine all of these different components, it gives you what I call prolific profit. Prolific profit is actually the name of my book, and it was actually inspired by the late and great Nipsey Hussle. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge hip hop fan. I was actually out in LA, literally on his birthday, after he passed. And I was in LA, and I was like, yo, I need to go out, pull up to the mural. I was able to look at the mural, and I was looking at it. I was thinking about his life. I was thinking about everything he's done. And when I was looking at it, I saw the word prolific. And I got some inspiration literally in that moment to go ahead and write this book, Prolific Profit. Again, it's an award-winning book. It's on Amazon. You guys can definitely check that out. A whole bunch of gems in there. So that is that piece. So how did I get into it real quick? I'm going to talk a little bit about my story. How did I get into it? But really for me, I actually grew up in Miami, Florida. So my parents are from Haiti. So as you can imagine, my name is Michel. So, that's a Haitian name. That's a French name. It actually means who is like God in Hebrew. If you look up the word, if you literally Google it, it means who is like God. And really, that was my grandfather's name. He was a pastor out in Haiti. But really, with me, the interesting thing about it was, growing up in Miami, as you can imagine, I experienced a whole bunch of different things and different life experiences. One of them being, when I was about 8 years old, my family was actually held at gunpoint. So basically what happened was, I was in my home, and, I'm waiting, I'm in my room, doing what 8-year-olds do, watching cartoons, just hanging out, chilling, whatever the case is. My mom comes home, I run to the front of the door, I come up, and I look up, and I see she has a gun pointed in the back of her head. And I'm like, yo, this is what's going on. And the guy behind her, he was Haitian. He was like, "Dit tu garçon couché à terre," right? Which means tell the boy to get on the floor. I get on the floor or whatever. No, actually, I start stepping back, right? So I'm tiptoeing on the balls of my feet. I'm going back. I lay down on the floor. And, as they're coming in, my uncle is also behind her. He's visiting in the house from Haiti. He's coming in there. They start pulling out other family members. I'm there with my 2 sisters. My aunt's there. I have a grandmother coming from Haiti. They pull her on the floor. So everyone's laid out on the floor. And basically they were asking for some money, right? So they found out that my family, actually my dad actually used to keep a lot of cash in a shoebox, right? And there's a reason for that, but he kept a lot of money in the shoebox because he actually didn't want to pay money in taxes. So that was one of his tax saving strategies. But as you can imagine, that is extremely illegal, and he shouldn't be doing that. And the IRS ended up catching up with him, found out about it. And the irony of it was he actually owned a tax business, right? So he thought he can get away with that, even though he had a tax business. And for me, having my dad get locked up, I had to visit my dad when he was in jail. He was on house arrest. He ultimately got kicked out the country, ended up getting deported. And, through that experience, I realized like I wanted to, really, because I was the only son, I was the only guy, and, out of my mom's children, I wanted to, carry on my dad's legacy in a positive way, carry on that last name in a positive way, right? I didn't want the Valbrun last name to be tarnished in that way. So I really got into the industry for that, right? So I was very enthusiastic and really wanted to help people legally and ethically, show people how to make money legally and ethically, and also be able to save that money legally and ethically. So that's a little bit about how I got into it. And through this journey, I ended up going to the University of Florida, as Shin said, Tim Tebow land, he played football there. We won national championships. I was there when they won. So it was an amazing time to be there, amazing time to be alive. I ended up meeting my wife there, Raquel, who I love very much. We are obviously married now. And so that's where I met the love of my life there. And then when I started off, I worked at Ernst & Young, one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. And I also became a CPA, which is a very, very high bar to meet. Less than 50% of people pass the CPA exam. Less than 1% of CPAs are Black. So really, for me, I've been able to really be and overcome a lot of statistics. But anyways, as I'm going through it or whatever the case is, I'm working with a couple on some taxes, right? So I used to do a lot of volunteer work. I continue to do volunteer work. I'm always doing volunteer work, really big advocate of giving back to the community. So while I was in school, I was volunteering for an organization called VITA. So basically what we'll do is we'll do taxes for free for lower income individuals. So if you make less than 50,000, we'll do taxes for you. So I'm doing taxes for this couple or whatever the case is. And at the end of it, the husband turns to me, he's like, well, how can I save more money in taxes? And I froze. I didn't know what to tell him. I was completely like, I didn't know what to say, right? And the crazy thing about it was, even though I went to this amazing school, it's one of the top, 20 accounting programs in the country. I didn't know what to do. And it was a very humbling experience for me, right? And it really made me feel bad because I couldn't help them, right? I felt like, I got in this industry to actually help people, to give them information, and they caught me because I felt really dumb about it, right? Because when you think about it, it's like, okay, it's one thing to do people's taxes, but, at the end of the day, people just want to save money on taxes, right? So I, kind of put me in a position to where I felt like I was a failure as a tax preparer, as an advisor, even though I was doing it for free, right? They didn't even pay me to do it, but that's how I felt. That's the kind of accountability that I had with myself. And it really I kind of went through like this dark period, right? When I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? How can I figure this thing out? Should I even be getting taxes? Should I go into a whole different type of industry and different career? And through that experience, I ended up picking up this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. You all may have heard of it, but if you haven't, definitely check it out. Robert Kiyosaki, very great financial literacy book. It talks about entrepreneurship, making money, etc. But one of the key concepts in that book that I picked up was what's called the cash flow quadrant. So the cash flow quadrant shows you 4 ways to make money. So you can make money as an employee, self-employed individual, business owner, and investor. And the interesting thing I realized is that people on the right side of the quadrant end up making the most money. And the even crazier thing about it is people on the right side end up paying the least amount of money in taxes. And that blew my mind. I was like, okay, this is fascinating. Let me look into this a little bit more. Let me see what's going on with this whole money thing. Because the way I was looking at life, I thought the people on the left side would probably pay the least amount of money in taxes because they work the hardest. They trade their time for money, versus the people on the right side. They either trade people for money or they trade money for money, right? And they make more money. So real quick, that was my little brief intro, bio, background. If you guys are ready to learn, let me say, just say yes. Just drop a yes in the comments. Let me make sure y'all still rocking with me, but I wanted to get that quick intro real quick. Make sure y'all know who y'all talking to, you about to learn from. Yes, all right, bet. So let's get into it. So what we're going to cover today, so we're going to talk about 3 big secrets, 3 big strategies, however you want to call it. I'm going to be breaking down why understanding taxes is your biggest ROI to increasing your wealth. Next, I'm going to talk about how successful entrepreneurs, business investors, beauty professionals save $10,000 to $100,000 in taxes legally and ethically. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about who you should hire in order to help you file your taxes. All right. So think about this, right? When you go to a doctor's office, they do what's called a diagnosis. They're asking you for your weight, they're asking for your family history, they're asking you all these different questions. And it's the very same process for me when a client comes when they get into my process, when they book a consult with me, right? Typically my consults are at least $500 an hour, $500 to $1,000 an hour just to get a call with me. So really on that consult, I'm doing a deep dive and understand, okay, what specifically are your how much money are you making? Are you married? Do you have children? How's your business structure? I'm asking all these different kinds of questions, right? Just like a doctor, I'm poking them, asking questions. And the crazy thing is, we're talking to literally thousands of entrepreneurs and helping thousands of entrepreneurs, business owners, individuals. The biggest diagnosis that I've noticed across the board is this, that taxes are your single largest expense, all right? So you could forget about, all the things that you think you're spending money on. When you really break it down, taxes are the biggest thing that you're spending money on. Check this out. This is why that is. So think about this. When you make money, right, you pay income tax. When you buy something, you pay sales tax. When you purchase property, you pay property tax. When you sell the property for more than what you paid for, you pay capital gains tax. And then when you die, right, someone is potentially paying estate tax, right? So when you look at all these different taxes, right, that can come out to like over 50% of your income if you're not being strategic and you're not working with the right individual, right? As Chim mentioned, working with these individuals at these other places that don't necessarily understand all the things that you need to know as it relates to saving money on taxes. So it comes out to close to 50% of your taxes. But this is a crazy thing. Even with all these taxes that I just mentioned, there is an even bigger tax. The bigger tax that's probably even more costly than all of these taxes combined. And I call that the ignorance tax. All right. So ignorance, when I say ignorance, I don't mean that in a rude or condescending way. All right. If you don't believe me, I actually took a screenshot of the definition. Ignorance just means a lack of knowledge and lack of information. So if I can give you guys the right information, then I could basically change your situation, right? So just know that information changes situations, especially as it relates to taxes. So really getting the right information and really being enlightened about the tax code instead of being ignorant is really going to help you out. All right. And one of the biggest consequences of ignorance tax is that you end up overpaying in taxes. When I say overpaying, that means that there's certain ways for you to save money on taxes. If you don't know the ways for you to save money on taxes, then you're going to end up paying more than you need to, right? I'm not telling you all to not pay your taxes, right? Y'all need to make sure you pay your taxes. That is one of the requirements. The only two things that are certain are death and taxes. Make sure y'all pay your taxes if you owe taxes. But what I'm also telling you too is that you don't need to tip the government. You don't need to tip the IRS. You don't need to give them extra. They're good. They're straight. They got trillions of dollars, right? So you want to make sure that you pay your fair share and you go ahead and move on from that. So 74,608, believe it or not, that's how many pages are in the tax code, right? So the tax code is very complex. There's a lot going on. And this number is actually taken back in 2018, right? So if you think about all the other things, actually, no, I think 2016. So if you think about all the additional things that they added to the tax code, they actually just increased the standard deduction amount to catch up with inflation. The code keeps getting bigger and bigger, more and more complex. And even Albert Einstein said that the hardest thing to understand in the world is income tax, all right? So really understanding it is gonna be key because like I said, even Albert Einstein, right, the genius, the world genius of the world has even said taxes are hard to understand. So that is that piece. We talked about the consequences. So in addition to overpaying in taxes, you could end up having fines and penalties by not understanding this stuff, overpaying taxes, and you could even lose your business, right? Some people have actually lost their business by not understanding the tax code. But one big myth I want to demystify and let y'all know is this, right? So a lot of times people say there's two different tax systems, there's one for the poor and there's one for the rich, right? And even though I think there's some truth to it, but I don't really think that's the way it really goes for real, based on my experience, right? Some people may have a different opinion based on my personal experience working with thousands of people. I would say that is an inaccurate statement. Really, when it comes to the tax code, there are two different tax systems, but it's really for the ignorant and the enlightened, right? So if you are enlightened about the tax code, then you're able to save money on taxes. And guess what? The enlightened understand that you make money, you spend the money, and you pay taxes on what is left. And that's going to put you in the best position possible. So is this making sense? Drop a real yes in the comments real quick if this is making sense. But I really want to help switch your mindset and really help you to understand the importance of this. And then we're going to get into, I'm going to give you all the sauce right now. I'm about to drop some crazy sauce, but I still want to make sure that y'all want to make sure that everyone is on the same page before we get into it. All right, bet. So let's get into it. How successful entrepreneurs, investors say 10K to 100K in tax legally, ethically. So make sure you go ahead and take a screenshot of this, write this down, whatever you got to do. But these are the 6 big ways to save money on taxes, all right? And there's hundreds of different strategies within each of these, but these are the main categories. So the first one's going to be deductions, right? A deduction is what people call a tax write-off. A tax write-off is when you make income, you go ahead and spend money, right? Whether it's on a business or whether there's certain allowable expenses that you can go ahead and deduct, that reduces your taxable income. Your taxable income is what is used to determine what your tax rate is, which ultimately determines what you have to pay in taxes, right? So let's say you make $1,000, you get a $300 deduction. Now your taxable income is $700 instead of $1,000. So basically what they're going to do is multiply $700 times the tax rate. Let's say the tax rate is 30%. Right now you're paying $210 in taxes. Now, if you didn't have that deduction, right, and you only had the $1,000 with no deductions, then you would have had to pay $300 in taxes, right? So that is what a deduction does. I'm going to break down, give you guys a whole bunch of deductions that you can take for your specific business. Legal entity structure, tax structures, right? That's going to impact how you're taxed and how the taxes are going to play out for you. So I'm going to break down exactly different ways that you can be taxed. Retirement, there's different retirement accounts that you can use in order to either save money on taxes today and do what's called a deferral of taxes or pay taxes later. Or you can also look at some insurance policies that help you save money on taxes. There's legal loopholes. I'm going to be sharing a little bit of legal loopholes that are out there, and then advanced planning strategies. This is when we get into like trust and all these other complex strategies where you're combining all these different components of the tax code to help you save and reduce your taxes. All right. And that's just a quick example of how this calculated. Like I said, you have your income, then you have what's called adjusted gross income, your standard deduction, itemized deduction. Itemized deductions are basically deductions that you could take if they go over the standard deduction amount. Right now, for like a single individual, the standard deduction amount is $12,550 plus the little additional 100 that I think they added to match up for inflation. So that's automatic. You get that off the rip. Itemized deductions are deductions that you can take if they go over, if they're bigger than the standard deduction, you can actually be able to deduct more. So itemized deductions, it's a quick acronym for y'all to remember, to help you remember what an itemized deduction is. An itemized deduction, the acronym for itemized deductions is Mitch. All right, so it just ends up working out that is my name. So Mitch, M-I-T-C-H is the way you spell Mitch in this in scenario. But with itemized deductions, you can deduct for medical and dental expenses. You could deduct for interest paid that you paid during the year, such as like mortgage interest. You could also be able to deduct for taxes paid during the year, such as property tax. You're able to deduct for charitable contributions. So if you're contributing and giving money to charity, you're able to deduct for that. And last but not least, for help. When I say help, I mean like casualty losses and theft. So the IRS actually gives you some benefit, or they give you a deduction if your house gets on fire or someone steals from you, whatever the case is, that's a potential deduction for you. All right. So tax-free requirements is another acronym for y'all to understand and really know, to be able to understand what are the requirements in order to be able to deduct this. So this is really a key principle. If you understand this principle, then you literally don't have to memorize any. If you could continue to focus on this and remember this, then you'll be able to understand and know what you can deduct for tax purposes. All right. And one of the key things to know too is that a lot of these strategies I'm sharing for you are going to be for business owners. All right. So many of you all are probably either self-employed, consider self-employed, or independent contractors. Maybe some of you may be W-2. But if you are self-employed, independent contractor, business owner, you're able to meet these requirements, right? These are the 4 requirements in order to be able to deduct things for your business. I call those tax-free requirements, tax-free deductions. And these are the requirements, right? So the first requirement that the IRS has, literally from the IRS tax code, is that the expense needs to be for your trade, business, or profession. All right. So many of y'all are beauty professionals. If the expense relates to the beauty profession, then you are able to deduct for it. The second thing that you want to understand is R regular, right? So the expense needs to be regular for your trade, business, or profession. The IRS calls that ordinary. So if the expense is ordinary for your business, then you are able to deduct that. The third thing is E, essential. So the IRS calls that necessary. So the expense needs to be considered essential for your business. What's going to help you operate that business, paying rent, utilities, etc., is going to be key. E, economical. So economical is going to be a key thing that you need to understand. Economical means that it can't be lavish or extravagant under the circumstances, meaning that let's say your business makes $5,000. One of the things that you could do as a business owner is be able to write off a vehicle. You can write off a G-Wagon, right? Fully in the year. It's possible to do that. But if your business only making $5,000, that is not considered economical. But if your business is making millions of dollars, then that might be seen as economical and not lavish or extravagant for that particular business. All right, so I'm gonna give y'all some examples of exactly what those deductions are going to be for your particular business industry as it relates to what y'all have going on, right? So top tax deductions for beauty professionals, you can see all these different things here. So we got a lot of this is supplies and equipment, right? So y'all have a ton of supplies, a ton of equipment, right? We're talking about blow dryers, razors, clippers, scissors, chairs, all of these different types of expenses can be deducted for your business, shampoos, conditioners, depending on your classification, you might be able to deduct for the apron that you have. If you have an apron or a uniform, that could be something that could be deductible. Nail polish, all of those kind of things. You want to make sure you're tracking those and keeping good records of those. The chairs, etc., are also deductible, right? And you could be able to deduct those fully within the year if you're using the right tax professional. And then some other things for y'all to be able to deduct for, right? So vehicle expenses. So vehicle expense is going to be a good way for you to be able to deduct for business purposes. So vehicles, there's two ways to be able to deduct for vehicles, right? So you have the mileage method, you have the actual method. The mileage method or standard method relates to being able to deduct for the business miles that you're traveling or using, right? So every time you're driving for business purposes, let's say you're going to an event, let's say you are going to potentially going to a client's house or whatever the case is, or going to the actual shop to go ahead and to work, then you're able to deduct for those business miles. You just want to make sure you're tracking those miles using a mile tracking device such as Mile IQ, the QuickBooks app. If you have it on your phone, you can go ahead and use that. That's going to help you, and that's going to allow you to deduct 56 cents per mile. All right, so that's number one, vehicle expenses. Then you have what's called the actual method, right? The actual method allows you to deduct for the actual expenses as it relates to that vehicle, right? So you have what are called, you could, like I said, you could be able to write off fully a vehicle within the year, right? So one way to do that, like I said, is if you have a vehicle that weighs over 6,000 pounds, the IRS allows you to write off 100% of that vehicle cost. If you combine that with a tax code called Section 179 and bonus depreciation, you can go ahead and combine those, get that under your business. And then if you place it in service within the year, you want to make sure you go ahead and do that based on the business use of that vehicle. It needs to be more than 50% in order for it to qualify. A whole bunch of other details, but that's just a high level overview just to give you guys an idea of the way it works. The next thing is advertising, right? So y'all, so many different ways to advertise. You can advertise doing print ads, flyers, being on television, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, shout out pages, all these different things and different ways that you could be able to advertise. That's going to be deductible for your business. We already talked about the supplies. You already know what the supplies are, so you can go ahead and deduct for that. Education. All right, so education is going to be key. If you're a business owner, if you're an independent contractor, self-employed individual, education is going to be key, right? So by investing in the beauty school and by investing in all these different programs that's going to help you generate more money, generate more profit for your business, that's going to be something that you could deduct and be able to write off, right? Trade shows, right? Let's say you guys are going to trade shows. Maybe you're an exhibitor, maybe you're a vendor, maybe you're just going there to learn and be educated, right? Such as like a Bronner's brother, whatever the case is. And go there, you're able to deduct for those kinds of events that you attend. Travel, right? And included with that, when you're traveling to these events, you could be able to deduct for the travel, right? So the airfare, the hotel, the lodging, Ubers, Lyfts, all these different types of expenses associated with that, you're able to deduct for those business expenses. Meals, all right? So if you are having a meal with a potential client, someone that you're looking to do business with, you're able to go ahead and deduct for that. Professional services, working with a CPA, a legal professional, all these things are deductible for your business. All right, so that is that piece. And then quick takeaways, right? For the end of the year, you want to make sure that you're holding on to your W-2 forms if you're getting paid as a W-2, or a 1099 if you're getting paid as a 1099. You want to make sure you're holding on to that. You also want to make sure you're saving the receipts, right? The receipts are going to help you be able to prove that you actually spend money on these things in the event that you get audited. You want to keep track of those expenses in an Excel spreadsheet, or you can use like a bookkeeping software like QuickBooks that you can use. So that's going to be helpful. You want to make sure that you have a checklist completed for your tax prep, and then you just basically want to keep like a detailed lists of, you know, all the deductions, like maybe, you know, going back and looking at this presentation to see all the different ones that I listed out and named out for you. All right. And then real quick, self-employed versus independent contractor versus employee. Self-employed is just basically your business owner. Maybe you have your own shop, you have your own business, you're self-employed. Independent contractor, maybe you work within a business or work within a shop, maybe you're renting a chair, whatever the case is. Then you're going to, sometimes you should be receiving what's called a W-9. You go ahead and fill that out. Then you're going to get a 1099 during tax season. You'll be considered an independent contractor employee. You're going to get a W-4. At the end of the year, you're going to get a W-2. And then real quick, I got a clip of the shop of LeBron James and Meek Mill laughing, but reporting tips, right? So y'all are receiving tips. Some people don't want to report tips, but, you know, as I have to, I'm kind of obligated to make sure, you know, I put that in there, make sure that y'all are doing that. So make sure you're reporting your tips, making sure that's documented. That's going to be key. If you need to do that for your employer, if your employer did ask you to put that in there, you want to make sure you fill out the form called Form 4137. All right. So make sure you go ahead and report your tips as well. All right. So going on to the next topic, right? I talked about tax entities, legal entities. It's going to be a key concept for y'all to understand. I'm going to break this down quickly. With tax entities, right? Well, as it relates to entities, you have what are called legal entities and you have tax entities, all right? So legal entities are going to be basically registered with the state, right? So depending on a legal entity type, you can have some legal protection. If someone comes to your business, that your personal assets are going to be protected, your personal assets being your house, your bank account, your car, all these different things, right? So there's generally 4 different types of legal entities. You could be a sole proprietorship, you could be an LLC, limited liability company, partnership, or corporation. Generally speaking, for most individuals, it makes sense to either be an LLC, limited liability company, or a corporation, really an LLC. But the LLC and the corporation give you legal protection. Sole proprietorship and partnership do not give you any legal protection. And again, these are registered with the state. Then your tax entities is how you're actually taxed, right? So you'd be taxed as a sole proprietorship, partnership, S corp, or C corporation. As a sole proprietorship, you're going to pay what's called self-employment tax. Self-employment tax is 15.3% on the profit of the business. So you want to make sure that you are, again, documenting that and recording that. But one of the downsides is you have to pay that 15.3%. So one of the ways to reduce it and avoid it is by switching over to what's called an S corporation. So an S corporation is going to allow you to be able to save money on taxes. Because instead of paying 15.3% on the profit of the business, you're now paying 15.3% on the salary that you pay yourself. So that's one of the requirements in order to be taxed as an S corporation. There's a whole process to do that. You don't have time to go over it tonight, but just know that that is available for you. All right, and then different tax returns that you got to be aware of. You got the Schedule C if you're sole proprietorships, single member LLC partnerships. You're going to receive what's called 1065 Schedule K1, corporations 1120. S corporations 1120S. These are different tax due dates, right? So these are also going to apply for 2022. But as an individual, as a personal individual, your tax deadline is going to be April 15th. Partnerships, they're a little bit early. So same thing with S corporations. You're going to be filing by March 15th. And then corporations, similar to personal, April 15th. You could do what's called an extension, which allows you additional 6 months to go ahead and get your taxes done. But you're still required to go ahead and pay taxes by that due date. All right, so that is that piece. And then different softwares, you can use QuickBooks, Xero to go ahead and do your accounting. You could use an Excel spreadsheet. Like I said, receipt management. Like I said, you want to make sure you hold on to your receipts. You don't have to physically hold on to the receipts. You just want to make sure you take a picture of it. Cam scanner is a good tool to do that. Tracking your miles, MyIQ, QuickBooks is good to use. And if you try to do your taxes on your own, which I highly do not recommend, but TurboTax, H&R Block, they have tax software. But again, because you guys are business owners and you guys do not want to overpay in taxes, I would recommend working with a professional on that. Real quick, Joe Biden's looking to make some tax changes. I'll quickly go through that. He's looking to increase the individual income tax rates. He's looking to increase capital gains tax. He's looking to increase payroll tax. He's looking to increase the corporate tax rates. He's looking to get rid of qualified business income deductions. He's also doing some other changes as well. He's giving out more money for child tax credits, which is a positive thing. He has energy tax incentives, which is a good thing, but some other changes as well. But just needless to say, it hasn't been implemented this year, but next year, chances are it's going to get into place because the Democrats have the House and the Senate, which basically means that whatever he passes is generally going to come through. All right. I said a lot. Is this making sense? Y'all still with me? Y'all still here? Drop a yes in the comments real quick. Make sure y'all still here. We good? Yes, 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 yes. Dope, okay. All right, last section here, I promise, and then I'm gonna open it up for Q&A. So I appreciate y'all still rocking with me, not falling asleep on me. I know there's a lot of tax information, but it's important. So, all right, so how to choose the right tax professional, all right? So one of the biggest problems in the country is this. All right, most business owners, individuals believe that their CPA, accountant, and tax preparer is actually saving the money on taxes, but they are not. All right, so H&R Block, shout out to H&R Block. This is not me throwing shade at H&R Block or any other big tax box office out there. This is just an example because a lot of people are familiar with H&R Block, right? So one of the things in the industry is this, right? There is in order to be a tax preparer, there's not really much regulations as it relates to it, right? Y'all can literally go out tomorrow and start doing people's taxes for them, and no one's gonna stop you doing that, right? You just need to be 18. You need to go ahead and get what's called a P10, which is a preparer tax identification number, and go ahead and get rocking and rolling with your tax business, all right? So that is one thing to understand. So that's cool for people who are trying to make money, but for you as a business owner, that is not cool, all right? And even if you look at the H&R Block website, this is literally a screenshot from the H&R Block website, and they have a section there is how to become a tax preparer, right? And basically one of the requirements that they have is that you have to take a course with them that teaches you how to do taxes or whatever the case is. But basically the only requirement is that you need to be 18 years to attend. A GED or diploma is not even required. So you don't even have to graduate high school. You don't even need a GED. You just need to take this income tax course, be 18 years old, boom, you can go ahead and run it up as a tax professional. So really when it comes to taxes, you're gonna find that there's different types of professionals out there, right? Like Meek Mill says, there's levels to this. All right, so there's different levels to this tax profession. One thing for you all to understand is I'm gonna break it down. So basically the lowest level, we just talked about that tax preparer, right? Literally anyone can be a tax preparer. Then you have what are called enrolled agents and tax attorneys. Tax attorneys don't really do taxes. They basically go into the courts for you and represent you, whatever the case is. Enrolled agents though, they pass an exam. It's not the CPA exam, but they take an exam. It's a 3-part exam with the IRS, and they do know a lot about the tax code. But I compare enrolled agents like real estate agents, right? Because as a real estate agent, you don't have to go to school to be a real estate agent. You just got to take an exam, and then boom, you can go ahead and sell houses. So that's kind of what I see enrolled agents are. Again, they know a lot about taxes, but it's not, you don't have to go to school to be an enrolled agent. You just take an exam, you can do it in less than a year. CPAs, on the other hand, in order to be a CPA, you have to get a bachelor's degree, which is a 4-year degree. Yeah, on top of that, you have to get a master's degree. In order to get 150 credit hours, you only get 120. So then you got to get a master's degree on top of that. So you got to get a bachelor's, master's. Then you got to pass a 4-part exam, which has less than a 50% passing rate. Less than 10% of people pass it on the first time. And the grace of God, fortunately, I've been able to pass it on the first time, but it was not an easy test. And then on top of that, you have to work under a CPA for 2 years just to be able to even call yourself a CPA. So I had to work very, very hard for those 3 letters. And but even that, right? Even that is not enough, y'all. Believe it or not. I'm saying this as a CPA, so it's not me hating. It's not me nothing. I'm telling you the facts, right? I told you in that example how when I was starting off my career, I cannot help these individuals because in school they don't teach you how to help small business owners be able to save money on taxes. They actually help you to work in corporate America, right? When I started off my career, I was working with these billion-dollar industries, and I knew enough to be able to work with them, but really at the end of the day, I had to do a lot of self-learning, self-education, literally spent over 6 figures in my self-education and development to learn this game. So if you can't trust CPAs, you can't trust these CPAs, who can you trust? Well, I had to make my own category for it, right? Because it doesn't officially exist, all right? And I call that the tax elites, all right? So the tax elites, this is who you need to be working with. This is who you need to be talking to. This is who you need to be rocking with if you're trying to save money on taxes, all right? So the tax elite is an acronym The first part of that elite is going to be E. So education. Did this individual actually go to school for accounting or taxes? If they did, that is a positive sign. If they did not, that could be a red flag. Just putting it out there. And L, legal representation. So can they represent you in front of the IRS? CPAs can represent you in front of the IRS, and enrolled agents could do that as well. All right. So legal representation. I, integrity. Are they following the tax code with integrity? Right. There's some people out here that are telling you to claim kids that you don't have. They're telling you to take a whole bunch of deductions that you didn't necessarily spend money on. They're telling you to change a whole bunch of it's just shady. All right. So if they're trying to finesse, if they're trying to push the envelope way too much, then that's not someone that you want to work with. Because even though you might save money today, the IRS is checking, they're clocking it up, they're letting interest develop, they're just waiting. And then whenever they're ready, whenever they get tired of following you and watching you, they're just like, okay. And they go ahead and send you that letter. They go ahead and pull up on you, depending on how severe it is. So that is I. Make sure you work with someone with integrity. T, training. Are they constantly getting trained up on the tax code? As a CPA, I'm required to go and constantly get trained up on the tax codes. That's going to be key. Always learning, always self-education is going to be key. And then last but not least, experience. How much experience does the individual have? Do they have, it's going to be based on years of experience, but also industry experience. Do they have experience with your specific industry? If they do, that's a good thing. If they don't, that's a red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. I know that's a trending topic on Instagram. That's a red flag. All right, so tax elite. But that's one thing. But the one thing that I know is that all the tax elite do, hands down, across the board, is this. All right. The tax elite do what's called tax planning. All right. So tax planning is a key process. It's a key service. If someone does not do tax planning, if you tell them, yo, can you do a tax plan for me? Can you help me save money proactively on taxes? And they can't do it, then that's a problem, right? Because at the end of the day, tax planning is the main service that everyone needs. All right, so what is tax planning? If this is your first time hearing about tax planning is this, right? So you have tax preparation. That's just a cost to you. It's a cost to your business. You spend the money. It doesn't do anything for you. Everyone has to do its compliance work. It is what it is, right? It doesn't give you any benefit. Tax planning, on the other hand, is an investment with a high ROI, meaning that if you spend money on a tax plan, right? Let's say you spend $10,000 on a tax plan. This is me throwing out a big number, but let's say you spend $10,000 on a tax plan, but someone can help you save $100,000 in taxes, right? Then that's an investment. That's a 10x ROI, right? Because you spent 10, but you are saving $100,000 in taxes, not just for this year, but for every year going forward for the rest of your life, because you understand that play, you understand the strategies, you understand everything, right? So you pay one time and you're good. And like I said, with tax planning, it's done before the year is over. So it's looking at your life, business, regulatory requirements to legally reduce your taxes. Tax prep is done after the year is over. So when by the time all the activity is done, they're just going ahead and recording what you did in the year. So like I said, you guys are in the perfect season right now, because right now it's November, December. You guys have time to learn about the tax code and be able to start implementing some of these strategies that I talked about today, right? And the power of tax planning, right? The power of tax planning, it's proactive versus reactive. So you are being proactive to help you save money on taxes. It's an offensive line. It gives you a peace of mind. So you know that, look, my situation is good. I'm doing things right. I'm doing things legally and ethically. I'm saving and maximizing my savings. I'm not paying that ignorance tax, which is overpaying taxes. And then you're also using it to increase wealth, because at the end of the day, it's not how much you earn, it's how much you keep. If you have nothing to keep, then you have nothing to pass down. So make sure you go ahead and tap in and work with someone on a tax plan ASAP, as soon as you can, or at least enroll and get into some kind of education to where you're learning that information, right? And a lot of people think that the best time to understand this stuff is the best time to save money on taxes is when it's tax time, but that's literally too late because it's based on prior activity. So tax plan is going to be the best way to legally reduce your taxes. So real quick, how does this work? What do I have going on? I really want to give you guys a special gift and give you guys an opportunity to be able to learn even more, to be able to save even more and pay less taxes, all right? So if you guys are ready to pay less taxes, say yes in the comments real quick. I know I was going off. I'm about to wrap up pretty soon, but are you guys ready to pay less taxes? Drop a yes real quick for me in the comments. Yes, yes, yes. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so check this out. Doing a special offer, special thing for for y'all. So I have the Pay Less Taxes Challenge, right? So Pay Less Taxes, LESS is another acronym. Y'all know I love acronyms. LESS stands for Learn, Execute, Streamline, and Save. So I'm gonna help you guys learn, execute, and streamline, save more money on taxes. It's a tax challenge that I'm going ahead and doing. And believe it or not, it is crazy, but I am going to allow people to go ahead and be able to get into this thing. So basically, who is this for? This is basically for new and established entrepreneurs, beauty professionals, all these different individuals. If you are making money, if you're in business, you can go ahead and do that. So make sure you guys go ahead and tap in. Like I said, I've invested over 175,000 in coaches, mentors, and programs, working with the top tax experts in the country to do this the right way. And in the last 12 months, I've been able to help my clients save almost $9 million in taxes legally and ethically. I have a whole bunch of testimonials, over 50 testimonials that you can check out publicly online. But if you guys are interested, you guys can go ahead and sign up today for free. All right, so Pay Less Taxes Challenge. We still have a few free slots for general admission. It's going to give you access to the 5-day challenge. It's going down November 29th through December 3rd. You guys go ahead and tap in. I'm literally going to be breaking down the Tax Wealth Foundation. So basically everything you need to learn in order to change your mindset and really be able to help you maximize savings. I'm going to be breaking down some really dope tax strategies, how to pay your children through the business, a whole bunch of more high-level strategies that I don't have time to talk about tonight. I'm going to talk about how to maximize the ways that you can save money using retirement accounts, other vehicles as well. Also some really crazy loopholes that the rich use and that the wealthy use in order to save more money on taxes, literally pay 0 to almost no money in taxes. So that's the Pay Less Taxes Challenge. You can go ahead and sign up for free. And we also have a VIP, which is going to get you like $1,000 worth of value and bonuses. Also, you're going to get access to a Q&A call with me as well if you go ahead and upgrade to the VIP. But that's it. Pay Less Taxes Challenge. Make sure you guys tap in. I'm going to open it up for Q&A. Appreciate y'all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, Michel, can we go to your I'm going to go to your Instagram page for a minute. And I want to share this, and because I want you to tell us a few things when I navigate this. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to share this screen, and hopefully you can stop sharing your, okay, great, perfect. So now, can you see the screen, Michel?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now you got you got a lot of followers for an accountant. Way more than a lot of beauty professionals actually. So with this challenge, if they want the challenge, they can click here, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna click on that pay list right here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this link and I'm gonna put it in the chat box. That way they can go on and sign up.
Yep.
So I'm dropping this link right here, y'all. So make sure y'all get it because he only got a certain amount of free spots. So y'all go on and get that free spot. So y'all click on this. If y'all go to the website, make sure y'all put the www.paylesstaxes.com, but y'all can just click this link. So we got some questions and answers. I know you got all the answers. So first question, and let me go ahead and stop sharing.